All right, so it looks like Paige DeSorbo has made the shocking announcement that she is leaving Summer House. For me, the questions now arise like, do people feel like Summer House will be successful as it's going into its big season without Paige? And also, how will she do outside of the show? Interestingly enough, there was no shock there in terms of how I feel about the show and her. I feel like the show has such a strong formula, always has. It's wouldn't necessarily say it's like a Jersey Shore, but the formula is there. Hit the ground running. In terms of work, and then the summer share is where you let loose. Oddly enough, the let loose wasn't really her claim to fame because it was always the bed and being very like quiet and or boring. So it's always been a big shock that there's been so many Paige DeSorbo super fans. What she did well was the marketing, the fashion, all that stuff early on, getting the boxes shipped to the house. I thought was a really brilliant move and does kind of give opportunity to elevate in terms of you've got this thing, how do you maximize it? And then from there, she's got her live shop, that she had been doing for years. And that just leads to a whole nother round of things. I'll get to my opinion on Craig and Paige in a second. And it's funny because Craig is not necessarily anyone you could defend because Craig has always been a mess. But I feel like Craig is exactly who he is. And I feel like Paige, there might be a level of person versus product, which is part of what you need to do. Person, who you are, product, what you are, sort of building yourself as your brand and the marketing. And it is effective. And I just go back to a place because earlier on, I'm in my 40s now, but earlier on in the world of radio and some of the television appearances I've done, there's is an interesting thing because you can always do it and you could be effective and you could succeed. But sometimes that tension between sort of not really focusing on person and only focusing on product can kind of leave you as like you wake up one day and you're like, who am I? Yeah, I've got the success, but like, who am I? In my career, my best moments succeeding wise were when I was a mess. Then when I got really good, really healthy and all these things, it made it harder to succeed because boundaries and certain compromises you don't want to do. I'm not saying that's the case for her. I'm just saying I think with all that being said, as somebody who never really enjoyed her on the show, she never really brought a lot. She was no Lindsay. She was no Danielle. She was no Gabby. She was no Kyle. She was not even a Chris Leone, in my opinion. She was no Amanda. Amanda's the tricky one in the situation because I really, 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 from day one, have always liked Amanda. And I feel like we could only take it with a grain of salt watching the show because the show is just that. It's a show. It is edited and there are certain story arcs and you only see one side of a person. I know that as well as anybody, not just being in front of the camera, but also working in production and, knowing what like sound bites look like and how they're structured, this, that, and the other. Radio City Music Hall, what a big, big thing for Paige. I mean, that is incredible. Kudos, all those things. And even the pressure of, Radio City Music Hall. I remember, I've worked at America's Got Talent. We were right there, in the biggest live element, NBC, America's Got Talent season 9 and 10 right there in New York City. So I get like the severity of like, wow, this girl really did it. Not my cup of tea, but she really did it. And this is not a necessary like, oh, this is me siding with the Southern Charm crew and Craig and all that kind of stuff and Madison and everybody like team Southern Charm versus Summer House. I'm much more of a Summer House person. I'm just very much not like a big Paige fan, but I'm going to try to go through the lens here of being like, okay, if you're a Paige fan, what does this mean for the show? I think it's a good time to go away anyways. And it's not like she's going to go away. She's already got like, she's thinking 15 steps ahead and that is what she is good for. And she's got her ducks in a row. So I'm sure it's fine. And even if it wasn't fine, to do it for so many seasons and to elevate and to create and to become who she has become, sometimes that little, especially when you're in a really structural, good foundation in terms of economics and career, it is good to kind of like not necessarily continue to be branded and advertised as like the girl from Summer House. She might have bigger and better plans. If this was the era or the day back in the day when it was like, I won't even say it, but I'm just saying she's a smart girl. Less on the compelling side, but very smart, and it will be fine. It's just been so interesting that like what she's given to the show, I feel like it was always just so odd to me, that success, but where I do break it down, going back to Amanda is the most interesting person in this whole scenario because Amanda, I have loved through and through from the very beginning. And it's been a rough journey for her, but this is what I say when I'm saying things are sort of like always arced and edited, and you just got to take it with a grain of salt, because Amanda, by being so close with some of the cast members that I never really enjoyed, be it Paige, Sierra, and Hannah, it's like, but Amanda is like, that's their best friend. So she had, meaning either Amanda isn't who we think she is fully, or they aren't the characters that I've sort of felt more on the uncompelling side. There's kind of like a mix. It's like when you, and I do this a lot, when you watch a full, and I did this with Paige too, when you watch a full interview, who did I watch Paige's full interview? And I was like, much more layered, much more open, much more like that's the person, right? But you can't do that with the show, and I know that as well as anybody else. When you get picked for a show, sometimes you are very much yourself, but then there is the glass ceiling, and that's probably why it's really good for her to leave. I struggle with this episode because I'm not trying to knock, I'm just more so saying like I've never seen it, and so if there's a really fun and respectful way to be like, no, she was amazing because of this, or it's kind of like, remember back in the day, way back in the day, I started radio almost 20 years ago or more, and it was like you would get your inspiration from certain people. Maybe people get really motivated by her, like she came into that show and she lit it up, had success, and that's inspirational. Much like, again, when I started in radio in the Los Angeles market and Bakersfield market, it was like seeing someone like a J-Lo was like, whoa, whether you liked her or not, it was the tenacity that made you think, oh my God, if I just keep on working, hence while I'm still here in my 40s and making sure my skincare is good, if at the least Noxzema, and the camera and the lighting is hopefully okay. These you continue on and you go through your down moments because you get inspired by certain people. So I imagine Paige is really that. So again, this is not a, oh, yay, she's leaving the show. It's more just like a, what is it that is so makes her such a success, outside of the fact that she has big numbers, because big numbers is a different thing. That's like the marketing is really good, but I'm trying to say throughout the course of Summer House, what is Paige known for? Lying in the bed in a place that it's like the exciting Summer House, I guess that's something. But in the contrast, like a Lindsay, there's so many Lindsay isms, like what is Lindsay known for quintessentially? What is the vibe? What is the sound? What we know what you're getting. With Paige, I felt like we didn't really get that. And contrastly, we actually got sort of, if you really think about it, this was really her claim to fame, which I don't know. So let's say Kyle and Amanda were always going to argue. Well, those arguments always intensified, and the tension intensified. And who was right there? Paige. Craig and Austin, albeit that's a different situation because she was with Craig, but they, of course, were going to have their fallouts. But who was right there within that tension when their friendship, the last Southern Charm season, was going through it? Who created that tension? I'm not saying it's Paige, but she was right there. Even Amanda and Hannah, their tension, obviously it was mostly through Kyle, but the point is, Paige is really somehow always right there. I don't necessarily think that's something that I enjoy in terms of like as a friend, you're like, wow, it's really funny that all these bits of tension are always created in the space, and Paige is sort of, created ideas that got people up in a roar, and then suddenly they're not even like cool, or stressful rather, with the people that they do care about. I mean, imagine like on the Watch What Happens Live, Paige even says, oh, well, and Austin, and I can't remember what the comment was, but it was more like how she thought it was odd she hadn't heard from Austin. It's like, well, there was a wedge that was sort of being drawn in Craig and Austin, and Craig and Austin are not perfect by any means, but I think really, and I think she would probably agree with this, which is person versus product. She's great at product. At what point do you sacrifice so much of your person and your happiness and your betterment? I'm not doing it in a judgmental way. I'm doing it in a way where I'm like, I had done that really well. In my 20s, when I had all the bigger opportunities, like I was really a wreck of a person, and that lends really well to succeeding. Now more than ever, actually, because there's direct to consumer. When I was doing what I was doing, we didn't really have that. You had to get casted. You had to really light up a room and really do a great job and have a lot of people believing in your work. Now you could just, flip on the thing and say something and let it go. But anyways, the positives are what a run. And I hope that it's being taken, that I'm very positive in this, like, wow, she did a wonderful job. What a success story. So there is that. Paige definitely has a success story on the show. In terms of compelling, I don't know that she's always been the most compelling, so it's a little bit of a shocker that she has succeeded the way she has, but nobody can say what she did with it, and that's what you want to do. You want to take the ball and run with it. I don't know why I'm coming up with sports analogies, but you want to take the ball, you want to run with it, you want to take this little opportunity and maximize it, and she did that so well. Will Summerhouse continue to be a success without her? I do think the formula is strong enough. Certain people may age out, but I think the formula is strong enough. Will Paige, go on and continue to flourish? Sometimes people do need time away, but I really do think she has her ducks in a row. And by having those ducks in a row, I feel like she's 15 steps ahead. So if you're a Paige fan, this is a great time. If you're not a Paige fan, you're just like, good luck. And I don't see her dropping the ball anytime soon. She's a very smart lady, who we've literally seen on the show go from a more younger into a very mature business savvy. So it's like one of the more incredible things. But it is an interesting thing though too. And really what I'm trying to do here is just have a perspective. I think really what happens these days is the opinions, because a lot of people want to be in on the trend. I mean, we really literally succeed in social media through trending. I was born in the 80s. So as a over 40-year-old, like we didn't really get off on trends that much. Like we really didn't like go crazy about trending and, a strong popular opinion, it was good, but you still had yours. And nowadays, it's really like you kind of want to be in on the popular opinion. And the popular opinion is she's a success. I'm only trying to like showcase there is a little bit of another side that's like, I don't know. And she, what you did, but like, was she compelling? That's the thing I struggle with finding is what has she ever done that has been entertaining and compelling? It was funny because on the season, and I've worked with sound-bytes for a very long time. I couldn't believe the soundbite that went on, like made the cut. It was, it didn't even make the show season, but it made the trailer, which was Crazy Town USA, occupation, everyone in this house. It just was like, where's the witty, where's the charismatic? Like it just didn't, I just was like, oh, she's sort of like people will say about Giselle Bryant. And I love Giselle. Since day one, interviewed Giselle like I'm a Giselle Bryant fan, as I am a Melissa Gorga, a Larsa Pippen, a Kenya Moore, a Dorit Kemsley, Dolores Catania, Bethany in her heyday, Jill Zarin, I like all the greats. Joe Gorga, even, put him in that category. But yeah, looking at it, why did I bring that up? Okay, so I don't remember why I brought that up, but the point is, okay, it's time to end this conversation. But the point is, I like, I remember Giselle, I like, but a lot of people who don't like everything that's on Real Housewives of Potomac or Giselle for that matter, they'll sort of feel like, man, the network loves her so much. She doesn't really, no matter what she does, the network will always push and help her succeed, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's their prerogative. And I think with Paige, that's kind of what it is too. Who's a big success, but even when she was kind of still coming up, you could tell it was happening as well. Over on VH1, Love and Hip Hop, when Cardi B's first and second season, she only did 2. Like, you go back and watch the reunions of the first 2 seasons, specifically probably the first, because by the second, she was like really this household name. But it was already kind of happening. And you look at the reunion, the interviewer, I think it was Nina must have like, it would be like they'd be talking about 17 other cast members and then Cardi, what do you think? Just so she could have like a little moment. It just really is saying that we have this product, in this case, Paige, and Potomac's case, Giselle. We have this product and we want it to succeed at all costs. So let's run that soundbite, even if it's not that funny, versus if somebody else in the house, Gabby made a great soundbite or Lindsay made a soundbite. You go through the footage, you go through the audio, and you pick the best. Crazy Town USA, occupation, everyone in this house. That didn't have it. That didn't have the wit. That didn't have the charisma. But it's okay because it's a product at the end of the day, and you want to always, as the network and Bravo, you want to protect that product, and you could see that too because you could see how excited and proud Andy is of this. Because at the end of the day, that's really what makes these shows very interesting to watch. Yeah, we watch them season by season, episode by episode, but it really is a very entertaining and interesting and inspiring thing, albeit it's such a messy genre these days. But when you get like a Bethany, when you get like a Cardi B on Love and Hip Hop, K Michelle on Love and Hip Hop, her singing career, these moments where you have these amazing people, in this case Paige with fashion, that when they came in the door, they were on one level, and they've just maximized the experience. I do think that's actually really incredible, and such a kudos to Paige. And the best thing about her leaving Summer House is that she'll go on and do her own different things, graduate into all these different levels, date and marry whoever she's going to date and marry. And beyond that, it's funny because I don't watch or listen to the Giggly Squad, but the formula for, I think they have a show kind of like, it's not like the Try Guys, but it's like the trying different things when they were on tour, and they'd go just, to a antique shop, or, a Goodwill, or, making food of some sort, like just trying different things, being on the road, basically. I couldn't get those words out. Being on the road, trying different, hunting. I don't actually know what they do, but I'm saying that's actually just such an entertaining thing. And it's all our own opinions. You know what I mean? You could probably be like, oh my gosh, I just don't like this particular, commentary. But like, it's just, we're all kind of doing our own thing. So that's why that's the big concept. It's like, okay, at the end of the day, she got busy. She did what she had to do, and she succeeded in such a way. If you're a Giggly Squad fan, this is huge, and not to worry, she'll keep on succeeding. She might have a switch up where she's like leading the E channels comeback, or Peacock streaming, or something like that. It is that thing. It's like, do you stick onto a show where you're one and an ensemble of all these wonderful cast members, or do you say, this is time to graduate and let me build my own thing? Kristen Cavallari, on the E channel, Kristen is Kristen. She's not, even Laguna Beach or the Hills. And that may be for the Paige fans. This is, Paige running the E network, or whatever, whatever is relative to that. Maybe she'll, because I don't really know what we think about Love Island and Ariana as the host. I mean, I know it's still fun, but like, maybe Paige will be the host of Love Island, or like a different kind of show. I don't really know. See, that's what I'm trying to tell you. When you get to talk about it for a long period of time, I am really fair, or I do try to be very fair. And so I want it to be looked at as such. It's a very fair thing. And I know I'm not the only person who's like, oh, wow, she got a lot of success, but she's not really that interesting. I know I'm not the only person who thinks that. And I'm not doing it because I'm thinking like, oh, I love Southern Charm. With that being said, I'm very excited to see what the Southern Charm cast has to say about all of this stuff. And, on the level of, I mean, do they pull a Vanita, and Vanita still stay closer to Paige? I mean, I don't know if that's still going on, but because, they're cool. And how do you balance that? Or does Madison get a little frustrated? Like, I don't know, I thought we were closer. And is that accurate? Is Paige the one not telling the full truth? Is Madison not telling the full truth? Who I'm most excited about, I must tell you, and I'm telling you, this is always what's so frustrating. I like a cast member, and these are the ones who I think should just be superstars, and then they don't go. Because really, if we're going to talk about Craig, Naomi was the star. Paige was always like, the season Paige first came to Southern Charm was the one season I didn't watch it in full. I mean, Taylor was also there too, but it was like, oh wow, what a draining portion of the show. But I could also understand, like, you got two cast members from two different shows. They met at Winter House. This just builds a whole thing. I do get it, but I was a Craig and Naomi fan. Oh my, Craig and Naomi. Naomi was a star. Southern Charm, Chelsea was a star. Danny was a star. Well, Danny was not a star, but Danny was cool. But okay, so here's the star. In my opinion, unbelievable, but also kudos and congratulations to you, Paige, right? Summer House. But who was a star coming up? There's two of them on the Southerns, because Leva was doing Southern Charm, and she was also on season 1 pilot, if you remember. But Leva's been on Southern Charm for so many years, and now she's doing Southern Hospitality. I think they're in their 4th season. So both Southerns really are on the come up, let me tell you, because Salley on Southern Charm, star. Salley on Southern Charm, star, big star. Salley, let's get it in the universe. Salley, huge star. It's coming. I can tell you. Well, I guess you can't take my word for it because I would have told you, Paige. There's no hope, but and look at and look at and look at and look at. But let's just go off the now. Salley, big star. Michols on Southern Hospitality, big star. Not to mention Maddie Reese on Southern Hospitality. This is what I'm saying. It gets a little exciting in the back and forth. I'm much more of a Summer House fan because I've watched since the beginning. Love the formula. Love, like I said, what Kyle and Amanda have done is incredible. Love Gabby. Have always loved Lindsay. I miss Chris Leone on the show. I miss Danielle on the show. Like this, I could go on and on, right? The Workers sisters, Stephen McGee, bring them all back. You know, Luke was okay, but like it just didn't go. My point is, this is kind of fun viewing. And those are the three questions. Do we miss or are we going to miss Paige on Summer House? How and where is the trajectory of where she's going future? Like, because at one point you do need your peace and happiness. It's not always career, or is it? That's the question, or is it? And then the last thing is, where do you think it stacks up between Southern Charm and Summer House? And where do the Vanderpump Rules cast members come in? The new batch of cast members that's, for the remake. Oh, it's getting fun. It's really getting fun. All right. So ending the whole thing, just so it's not like, oh, what a hater, this dusty 40-year-old, and actually at this point I'm in my mid 40s. Eesh. Not being negative in any way. Congratulations to I would say in this moment, the iconic, still a little lacking, a little lackluster, but success, Paige DeSorbo. And where will she go next? It really will be a fun watch. Guaranteed. It is going to be a fun watch. And it really did a lot for Bravo and what's next. And you talk about watch what happens live. We are watching. We've got the popcorn and we are watching. So anyways, I guess you could leave your opinion. Even though mine's the only one that really matters. Oh gosh, this was fun. This was fun because I was just trying to give perspective. Anyways, that's it.